Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Marketing Your Practice podcast. This is a fascinating one. My guest on today's show is Angela Carroll. You might remember her from all the way back at episode 138. Angela's a qualified naturopath, acupuncturist. She's a natural fertility management counsellor, certified coach. She spent a lot of her life, up until not so long ago, working at Metagenics. Over the last 16 years, she's coached and educated and supported more than 10,000 natural health practitioners. So she knows a thing or two about our industry. In the last 12 months, she's transitioned into her own kind of full-time coaching business. I have worked with a few of Angela's clients and they absolutely rave about her. In today's episode, we talk about one of the biggest challenges that we often have as natural health practitioners, and that is this concept of having to trade our time for money. Now, here's the thing. I'll be the first to admit, we earn a great income, or we can earn a great income with what we do, but it does mean that we need to be there seeing the patients. One of the challenges, again, another one of the challenges is this, is the better that we get, the more patients that we see, and this is what often has us end up in burnout. Now, in today's episode, Ange talks about an Ascension Model that really bridges the gap between a fully online practice and one where you're still seeing patients one-on-one. This Ascension Model takes people all the way from your social media pages into closed groups, into running challenges and or webinars or trainings, through to paid groups, all the way through to a telephone conversation where they're actually asking you, can I be working with you? This model really fascinates me. If you're looking for a way for you to build a hybrid style of still seeing patients one-on-one, but also wanting to start to get some online offerings, you're going to love this episode. Let's jump in and talk with the amazing Angela Carroll.
Welcome to the Marketing Your Practice podcast, where we guide natural health and wellness experts through the pitfalls of marketing. Each episode, you'll learn simple, effective, easily actionable, and heart-centered marketing strategies. And here's your host, Angus Pyke.
Angela Carroll, welcome to the Marketing Your Practice podcast. How are you?
I'm great, Angus. Really good. Thank you.
It is lovely to be chatting with you today. We've had time conversion issues, tech issues that we're trying to organize. I feel like either the universe is trying to, you know what, we're here talking now. It's so lovely to be chatting with this because this is round two. This is the second time that we've been on there too. So how's COVID life treating you?
It's been great, actually. It's kind of nice. Before that, I was traveling 2 weeks before. I was never home. And now I've just been home for 12 months on an anniversary virtually.
And you've changed. You were working with Metagenics when we last spoke. And now you're focusing all of your time doing beautiful coaching work with practitioners, of which we're going to talk about as well. How has that change been for you?
It's been enormous, but in a great way. I believe the growth has been huge. Startup, going straight up into startup mode is massive. And I think I might have said this to you before, when I've run a business before, I owned a business before as a practitioner, you get a bricks and mortar, you open the doors, you throw a few flyers in letterboxes, take out an ad in the paper and throw a Yellow Pages ad and all your marketing's done.
Yeah.
And that's it. No website was necessary, nothing. So it has been a huge, huge learning curve.
How long had you been at Metagenics for beforehand?
Nearly 17 years.
It's a long time, isn't it? It's a fair chunk of time. And tell us a little bit about what you're doing now, what the focus of your coaching work is. I see online you're doing all these wonderful courses. I think last time you were almost done through your NLP training. Tell me a little bit about the work that you're doing with practitioners.
Sure. So at the moment where my focus is focusing on helping natural healthcare practitioners, motivated natural healthcare practitioners to grow and scale their business. Very importantly, without the burnout. Burnout is such a real thing in our industry. And so looking at no pressure, but trying to make sure they're moving forward continuously. But the importance is having a big vision at the top end. I don't know how it is for most chiropractors, osteopaths out there, but when naturopaths, herbalists, nutritionists, so forth, when we go through college, you get to a stage where, with the teaching is you see one-on-one clients. And when you're seeing one-on-one clients, there's a glass ceiling as to how many clients you can see and, you know, how many you can fit into a day, how many hours you want to work, how efficiently you work. And so your income can be capped basically around your capacity.
Yeah.
And that's what causes burnout for a lot of people. And at the end of the day, where do they go when they finish their business? You know, when they decide they want to retire, when they decide it's too much for them, there's no process through which to take their business through a scalability that has been taught in the industry. So that's where I'm focusing on, is just not only the growth, but the scalability to give practitioners that capacity to earn more, stop trading time for money, and be more efficient at what they do.
Yeah. I'm so fascinated about this whole concept, Ange. A little while ago, I had Rob Delgado on the phone. He's a chiropractor, excuse me, based out of South Africa, and he teaches practitioners how to take their business models online. And he had a saying that really struck with me, that because often what happens as a practitioner, the more successful we are and the better we are at helping people, the more exhausting our work becomes, because we've got more people to see. And so then it becomes more tiring. And, you know, at the moment, I haven't worked out, you know, how to adjust more than one person at once. You know, and for many people, if you're doing a naturopathic consultation, you know, I need to do those one-on-one, but there's some interesting business models that we'll talk along. And then the second thing that you touched base on through there is an exit strategy at the end, which I'm really excited to talk with you about today, because you hear of these people building these extraordinary businesses and then selling them for a lot of money at the end of 20 and 30 years hard work. And I've just sold my practice that I've been in for 22 years, and a beautiful practice that served me and my family so well. But on the business scheme of things, it's sold for a pittance of what its revenue brings in and all those kind of things that are, you know, a percentage of the revenue as opposed to a multiple of as well. So what started you on this journey of looking at different business models, of looking at kind of scaling and growth? How did this all come about?
It was an evolution, to be honest. So when I was working in my own business, I realized what the restrictions were. And when I left that, I sold it again for a mere pittance. You know, I was lucky that the practitioner who purchased it from me was very business minded. And so when I started working with Metagenics, because I'd been in practice for 10 years prior, run my own business, I started taking over the aspect of coaching practitioners how to run more successful businesses. And then been exposed to thousands, you know, I'd say around 10,000 different practitioners throughout Australia and New Zealand and the US, and just seeing what they did, what their models were, what worked, what didn't work, you know, consistently seeing what makes a great practitioner, what really contributes to their success. And then seeing over years this lack of ability to break through the time for money, trading time for money, and being able to, like you said, see more than one patient at a time was a real struggle. And so I started looking at different models. I started looking at what was out there in other industries that run parallel to our industry. Before studying naturopathy and acupuncture, I actually did 10 years in corporate. So I did 10 years business as well. So you know, I already had a model in my mind of where you could go, what you could do with that. And so looking at what practitioners were doing, I was talking about programs maybe 12 years ago, and nobody was interested. Oh, I can't do a program, can't offer a program because it's not individualized. And then with COVID and everyone moving onto the internet, suddenly everyone's going, I want to do programs, I want to do programs. But again, there's a problem because you can't just make a program, put it out there and think you're going to make thousands of dollars overnight, because that's not the reality. But that's what is being sold online. There are ways of doing it.
What do you mean by a program, Ange?
So program, where a lot of practitioners are wanting to do is have an online business where they create, let's say, a 3-week detox, or they do an 8-week weight loss program, or they have a skin program or a menopause program, whatever it happens to be. And they put together a framework that they pre-record and offer out there for sale, and people come and do that program. And the idea is they buy that online for a few $100s, and you know, they sell thousands of it. But
yes, it's so easy.
Yeah. It's not reality of how it works. There's a lot of background work, as you would know. I mean, you do a lot of marketing work. And so there's this sort of let's just say a miscommunication, let's call it, from people out there who say, oh, look, I built my whole practice on programs and that's all I do and I don't do anything else and I earn thousands of dollars. And so people are trying to emulate that, but it requires a lot more work than just making a program and putting it out there.
Where are they going wrong? What is a program, some of our, I guess it's really a digital course. Yes. Would that be another way of saying what a program is?
Yeah, correct.
Where are people going wrong? Because, clearly there are practitioners out there that have digital courses that are making a killing. I've interviewed numerous of them on the podcast. I am always frustrated, and I know it's kind of part of marketing. We want to lay out a path that makes it sound like it's easy, but sometimes, we are told it's, hey, listen, you've got the knowledge. All you need to do is record the videos, package it all up and put it online, and then people will buy it. And you just need to really choose what color Porsche you want to drive. Like, that's as complicated as life will be for you afterwards. What are the barriers? What gets in the way of people creating these programs, these digital courses? What skills don't they have that they need to get?
I don't know so much it's a skill set that's missing. There's two things that I see. So the first thing I see is new graduates, new practitioners coming out with almost no experience, and they launch into this program to create a program, but they haven't had the practitioner, the patient one-on-one time to know what kind of questions they're going to ask, what their needs are going to be, how to communicate from a practitioner perspective, and how effective is that program really going to be. You can make anything in theory, but someone having to apply it. The second thing where I think people go wrong is in pre-recording the course to start with and putting it out there. Because we need that know, like, and trust. Now, if you've built the whole know, like, and trust, and you can run your program as a group, and you can run that where you're doing it as a groups and you're putting people through and people are starting to like you and they're starting to, again, give you that feedback of what's working, what's not working, so you could actually make it into a program later down the track. I think that's fine. But just pre-recording it, putting it out there, it's really cold. And yes, they're putting good stuff out there, but it's not two-way. And for people to transition through, for them to grow from one place of where they are into a higher level of understanding around health, I really believe you need that two-way. You need that know, like, and trust fact. And how many people have bought courses? Of all of our listeners, anyone watching, you put your hand up and say, yeah, look, how many courses have you actually bought online and never done, not even started? And my concern is when you do that as a practitioner, people get halfway through a course, or they have problems, or they have side effects. They've got no recourse to go to, and that reflects really poorly on the industry, really poorly on the
Tell me a little more, because in terms of pre-recording the course there, can you dive and just explain a little bit more to me in terms of why that's a problem? Do you feel that, is your take on it, that there needs to be a little bit of two-way communication? So as opposed to this whole weight loss course being pre-recorded, go and take yourself through it, that it's much better off to be a kind of group coaching kind of live model working through it? Is that what you would recommend?
Initially, absolutely. Initially, it does. I really feel strongly about that. And if you've done, several of those, maybe 4 of those, and you've got feedback on what works, what doesn't work, what questions are people going to ask, what cases you can do, you've got to pepper it with, if it's live, if it's recorded, you've got to be able to still keep people enthused with, and my client, in a previous client, when we were on this program, they got to this level, this mark, and they just plateaued in their weight, and they couldn't lose any more weight. And so we dug down, and that's what I found, and that's why this next step is so important for you. So I recommend, if you've gotten to the plateau stage, then this is what we're going to recommend for the next part. So if you don't have those stories that add richness and dimension and experience behind it, I do think you have run the risk of losing people along the way.
Yeah. It's so interesting. And because online we're telling people how easy it is, we forget that, I often kind of talk about there being different practice multipliers that people can have, but all marketing, the practice multiplier number one should start with you being really good at what you do. Like, can you actually help people get a result? And as you mentioned there also, communicating online is very different than communicating to people, one-on-one there. And often one of the best ways for people to come up with their courses is just that, is to come up with it while you're going along, take a group of people through it, see what works, what doesn't, build upon it, improve upon it. There are multiple kind of incarnations that will happen, moving forwards as well. So yeah, if you're a new grad, perhaps hone your experience first. It doesn't mean that you need to spend years and or decades doing it, but you need to make sure that you can get a result for people before you're going to make these kind of commitments, because as you said, that really reflects really poorly on us as, allied health practitioners. We've got enough barriers standing against us. The last thing we need is kind of lousy material going out there as well. What else kind of stands in the way? So, no experience, they're pre-recording the course, so they don't know if it works or not. And your suggestion is, look, run through this in a group format a few times, find out where the hurdles are. What else?
I think that's a primary starting point. If they did that to start with, that would be great. Also really identifying gaps in the market. What are you going to put out there that's different to anybody else? What are you going to put out there? And what's your mode of delivery for that as well? So that was sort of one of the things that I wanted to talk about today. I was talking about meeting people where they're at, meeting their clients, meeting our clients, our patients where they're at.
Yeah.
And so, not everybody has this big, they haven't been in the health industry for years. They don't know about what they need to do to be healthy. And really, a good thing to remember is what you know is what you are doing, or what you know is what you are living. So if you've got somebody who comes into your practice and they're eating junk food and they're not eating healthily, they're not exercising, etc., not taking care of themselves, it's an indicator that they don't know. Yeah, because these people live what they know. And so sorry, go on.
No. I got the two. What was that? So what do you mean by meeting people where they're at? What are some examples of how they do a great job of that? And where might we muck up when we're not meeting people where they're at?
Okay, yeah. So as far as examples go, really that's what, I don't know how much it happens again in the chiropractic side of things, but from a nutrition side of the world, and possibly also chiropractors, where you're giving nutritional advice, lifestyle advice. So somebody comes in with a sore lower back, or they come in with a fungal infection in their toes, and they're expected then to exercise for 30 minutes, 5 days a week. They've got to meditate 30 minutes, 6 days a week. They've got to drink 2 liters of water. They've got to stop eating all the things they love eating, start eating all the things they hate eating, get 8 hours sleep, and go out and have fun with their friends every week. And all they came in with was a sore back or a fungal infection. They don't understand. They're not at that level of making all those changes that are required.
Yeah.
So that's an example that happens every day in practice. I've just seen it happen for years and years, and I was guilty of it myself in the early years of practice. But as far as, now, what was your second question? What was the second part on there?
What the other side of that then too, Ange, is what should it look like? If somebody does come in with that fungal infection on their feet, and the real solution is they need to do all those kind of things there too. How do we graduate that into a journey that doesn't overwhelm and stop them in the tracks?
Yeah, no, I love that. So let's take it back further. Let's take it back steps before that person even comes into the practice. Yeah. So as a model that I work with that we call the Ascension Model, it's a business model, and it works with providing a funnel for new clients to come into business. It provides you making different layers within your business, and it allows you to take patients on a journey, or people on a journey from not knowing and being curious, having a pain point, having a problem, to a full solution with you, minimizing the resistance to making those changes. So If you may allow me to draw on my lovely little iPad here.
Yes.
I won't screen share it.
That's what we tried beforehand, very unsuccessfully, to be doing screen shares across an iPad. And yes, these things work fantastically when they work, and when they don't, they're a little frustrating. So we'll do it for those of you that are just listening to this. We'll do a good job of explaining the picture along the way. Go for it, Ange.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to turn this around. You can still see that there. So just look at get myself that way. So if I'm in reverse. Okay, so this line that's here, this is just an indicator of the scale. So at the bottom here, somebody has no idea about health. They just know they've got problems.
Yes.
They don't really know what's going on. And at the top here, you've got somebody that's full on board. They want to live that way. They want to exercise that way. They want to do, everything that we would love them to be doing in that life. Their whole mindset's ready to do a full engagement with you. Mm. And so when people come in and their mindset is down here, their understanding, their knowledge is at the bottom of the line, if you like, how do you actually move them up through different levels to get them to a stage? So if they're, say, at the bottom, we have 0 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10, if their understanding of health and what's required to make full health is only at about a 2 or a 10, then getting them into a 10 out of 10 and getting them to do everything that is expected of them, everything that is needed, is a massive jump. Mm-hmm. And our humanness just doesn't allow us to make that massive jump. And that's where we lose. If we're expected to take people who are 2 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10 in expectations of what they need to do, then that's where we lose people. That's where I hear so many practitioners saying, my patients don't come back. I only saw them for 2 visits or 3 visits and they never came back in again. They just weren't ready at that level to take on what was required. So if you can envision then a staircase, of 5 stairs. And so if you are listening to this and you've got a piece of paper, you might even want to just draw these 5 stairs up. So this is what I call an Ascension Model, and very much at the top, on the 5th floor, right up the top of the 5th stair there, you can see I've got 1-to-1. So it's your 1-to-1 consultations. Yep. With you. And you, as the practitioner who's got experience and who has gone to university and has got their degrees and knows everything about health, you're the prize.
Love it.
You're the flower, you're the nectar that attracts, that the bees want to come to. And so you need to think of yourself as the prize. You've got the goods, you're the professional, you're primed and ready to go. Yeah. But how do you get people from the bottom of the staircase up to you to really take on everything that you can give them and break down all those barriers of knowledge on the way? Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So at the bottom, then that is where we work with your social media, particularly things like your Facebook profile, Instagram, and that's where you put, or LinkedIn, wherever you are. That's where you're putting out your free content. Mm-hmm. Your free content that engages, your free content that positions you as an authority.
What kind of content do you see is going to best help to position your practitioner as an authority?
Yeah, good question. So there's stuff that where you're looking through. It's not just to be an authority anymore. You need to build this know, like, and trust factor. You need to have authenticity. You need to be real and talk about, the times when you fell over, your problems, but not in a whingy way. It always has to be a problem with a solution. Yeah. So you position yourself as authority, like as you mentioned at the beginning, I've been doing my NLP training. Well, I've done my NLP. I'm now midway through my master's in NLP training. While I'm doing my training, I will post that. And I'll post learning while I'm doing that. If I go to a boot camp, I'll post my learnings on the boot camp. If I win an award, I'll post that award on there. It probably sounds a little bit funny for people, Australians in particular, with the tall poppy syndrome. It's like, I can't keep posting these things about myself, but you smatter it with your foibles, if you like, with your fragilities. Yes. So, you can be like, it was been miserable. It's been raining all week. I just didn't want to exercise. And I had this little voice in the back of my head saying, I need to exercise, but I really just didn't want to go out. And so I just had a whole week in bed. Okay, I need to get over myself. You know, okay, so this is what I did to get over myself. 1, 2, 3, and you put your solution out there, so people can relate to it, and they go, "Oh my God, they are real people. That practitioner is really human," and they kind of follow your journey through them. So, putting stuff out there and a little bit of humor, but not just sharing everybody else's content, not putting memes out there all the time, and not just airy-fairy quotes. It needs to have substance in there, plus teaching stuff. And if you're ever on a stage, you're ever doing anything with a stage, instances where you're actually doing public speaking, like I am absolutely going to be posting this podcast today, so that will give you authority as well. So you do those sorts of things to get free content, to start the know, like, and trust. You do Facebook Lives into the group. You can do Instagram Lives into them, and just always positioning yourself as an authority in your area, talking about your topic, talking about what's in your niche, marketing to your niche, marketing to your avatar. And I know you've had a lot of those conversations on this podcast before. So talking to that group. The next step from there that you want is to engage people a little bit more who are really interested in your niche. And that's where you would be. That's where you would be bringing in your free group. So you can really only do that on, I'm showing a picture here. So that's on the next step up.
Yes.
So the next step up is having a free group.
Yep.
And so you take them from the profile, you sort through who are your people in your profile, because remember, you can have 5,000 friends on your profile. And you go into a group and you make a group for your niche or for your practice. And in there, you do a higher level of engagement, a higher level of content. And then, okay, so the next thing you want them to move from the group, there you're educating them on another level. So you would go in there with more information and what they can do. The next thing you can do on the next level up, trying to get this light right, is to do a challenge or a workshop.
Yep.
Or a webinar or something. That is appalling writing. You can sort of see it on there. So the next level up is the challenge. So what you're doing is you're taking people from the bottom that are a 2 out of 10 up the sliding scale, and they come up to the next level in your group. So they might be sitting now at a 4 out of 10. You get them into the challenge, and you're getting them now to closer to a 5 out of 10 because they come through the challenge, and the challenge completes something. You promise at the end of it that they're going to lose a kilo in weight, get kick-started on their weight, or they're going to learn a new way to lift, or they're going to, I don't know, can you think of a challenge that would be good for something that practitioners could do, or a webinar or a workshop?
Yeah, totally. So, I was thinking inside of this, I've got a chiropractor who I coach at the moment who's putting together a mobility challenge for runners. So runners invariably are terrible at doing any kind of mobility, stretching type sort of work there as well. So he's going to do a 5-day challenge where he takes them through different things to use, different ways to stretch, foam rollers, Theraguns, lacrosse balls, all those kind of stuff there too. He starts his challenge, or he'll be starting his challenge with, some measurements beforehand. What is your mobility, your flexibility, those kind of things there too. And so, that kind of thing, what it lets Peter do, why I think this challenge model is so great, is it lets him start to get some results for his audience there as well. And then along the way, he will be saying, if you think this is kind of amazing, you should come and get adjusted because it's even better, to work beautifully with. And so he'll be able to kind of invite them into that next stage of engagement. But I love the idea of a challenge or something like that. I think we'll see lots of challenges happening in the market in the next 2 years. I'm putting one together at the moment because I think it's such a fun, engaging way to get people kind of taking action.
Yeah, absolutely. I did one at the end of last year with my practitioners in the group. I think 39 people registered. They don't always all turn up. So I had consistently around 12 to 18 each day over 7 days. It was very intensive.
Yes.
So I'm backing off. The next challenge will be 10 days, but a day. So it'll be a day on, and the day in between will be a homework and a Q&A day. So they'll actually have a day to actually get the stuff done without going a bit crazy with the intensity of stuff.
Yes.
And so when you do, as you said, at the end of the challenge, the idea at the end of the challenge then is to invite them into the next level. So they've already had good experience with you. They know, like, and trust you. You're moving them up to about a 6 out of 10 here now. Think how, if you've broken that down, if you do even a diet, like clean out your pantry, prepare your fridge for a healthy diet. So you have like a 5-day challenge where it's like, okay, everyone, this is what a healthy fridge looks like. This is what a healthy pantry looks like. On the next day, the day after, okay, this is what we do as we go out and here's the supermarket. Here's a label reading day. So you could make a challenge about how to get yourself ready to then start a healthy diet, because that's starting. It's the biggest part. Starting is the hardest part.
Yes.
So what you do, moving a hurdle, and what you're doing is you've identified a problem that your clients have, and you provide a solution for them with that. And then what you do then is, at the end of the challenge, now there's a gap. Now there's a gap. And how do they realize then, oh, I need to take this further. So the next step is, okay, what's next? So what I recommend on your next step up is just a free call. Okay. So that free call is a discovery call, a strategy call, or whatever you want to call your call.
Yep.
And with that, then you can decide when you're on that free call with the person. So at the end of the challenge, what you're doing is, I hate the word selling in, but that's effectively what you're doing, selling in. You're recommending that they'll come onto the free call, and from the free call, then they can choose to sign on with you to do more. And if they choose not to, they still walk away with a strategy of where they can go. The reality is, most of them will walk away, try to make the changes and not be able to do it themselves, and possibly come back to you anyway. But at least they'll still stay in the group until they take the next level. Now, the free call, the next level up. So on the next step up then would be, you would do something like a 6-week course. I can't spell 6-week course. Okay, so that's very badly written there. It's a 6-week course on the next level up.
Yep.
So they could either, from the free call, they could either go into the one-on-one with you, or they could go to the 6-week course, depending on what their needs are. Now, the 6-week course would be a group course. Yeah.
Yep.
So the 6-week course they can come into, and through that course, they might do over 6 weeks. They might be just whatever the next level is that you would like to take them into. So it could be a 6-week course where for chiropractors, if you're doing with sports people or want to be sports people, you might do rehab. It might be learn to run 5Ks efficiently, effectively in 6 weeks. So they're on a training program. Or it could be a 6-week detox, or a 6-week weight loss program, or 6 weeks mental health program. Whatever your niche is, whatever you specialize in, whatever you're working there. And you do that 6-week course. That 6-week course, you do it live. You work through that live one-on-one. From there, once you've done several of those, that's what can become your program later on. So that becomes your online program later on, because once you've run several of them, you can then video them, and those videos can be updated regularly. So if you decide you want to update a module, for example, then that you just do that one live. So you might have video live as you work through, and eventually work to full video. And then maybe once or twice a year, you launch that 6-week course again as a fresh new one, and you refilm the whole thing. So it's keeping updated, it's keeping people connected. And then at the end of the 6-week course, they're either feeling fantastic and they can go into one-on-one with you, or you might build in another step in your Ascension model. And in that other one there, you might have a 6-month group. So the one-on-one with you might be a package that they buy that's 6 months one-on-one, or buy a 6-month group if you wanted to build another strategy into there. And so what you're doing is just scaling your business and growing it at the same time, and meeting people where they're at. So if you've got people that have gone through this process from the free to the group, they've done your challenge, they get into the group course, the 6-week course with you, how much more motivated are they going to be, and how much more knowledge are they going to have, and how much, it's called stickability, to the one-on-one where we're asking them to do everything to make those possible big changes in their life.
Yeah, I can see as I'm kind of, my brain is ticking along as we're kind of working through this, Ange, that this, as you talked about it before, is a funnel that is constantly going to be delivering people, first of all, to a telephone consultation where we can kind of have, and it's interesting because I'm always intrigued. I used to really hate that word selling as well. And I kind of redefined, I mean, if you're selling somebody into a result they don't want, I don't think there's anything more manipulative, dirty, nasty. It just sucks. But if you've got a future result that's great for somebody and they're pre-qualified that they've gone through all of this, then you know what? You can bet your left arm, I'm going to sell the heck out of that. Because if you've got to this stage and you know what, you've got your toe fungus and I know I can help your toe fungus and you're here with me, then I'm going to do everything, with integrity to help kind of guide you through to that journey there too. But I can see this kind of process. I want to just clarify. So when I guess this is all pretty much free until we get to that one-on-one call stage. And I'm going to say, hey, Ange, there's two ways we can work together. We can have some one-on-one time together. That's what some people like to do, or some people like to go and join this 6-week course. This is the fees for both of those. Is that when it starts to become a paid relationship or before that?
No, it starts to become paid then. Some people are working with paying a entry fee for the challenge.
Yes.
To hold the spot for the challenge, and that was okay a couple of years ago, but now that there's so many free challenges out there, so many that people are going to go, well, why should I pay $100 for yours when I can go to Ben's down the road for free? So your challenge, yes, that's where you start. The money comes in at the 6 weeks. There's sort of commitment processes you would require in the challenge to get people who are saying they're going to turn up. You don't want 40 people signing to your challenge and then just having 2 people turn up on there. So, but having said that, if you work through the process with the challenge, and that's, I've done them in the past, and I think they're a great way to build rapport, move people forward, showcase what you can do. And back on what you're saying with selling, is that the sales aspect of what happens with the challenge to move them into the next level, there's no obligation.
Yes.
There's no obligation for them. You're just saying, if you had great results here, I can take you to the next level if that's what you want. So all you're doing is really solving the problems for them. So you're just giving them an offer and you're guiding them to make the choice that is best for them at that time.
Yeah. Isn't it? It's interesting. I know it's a kind of sidestep, but for me, that's really all sales is. If I'm doing it one-on-one, I'm chatting with somebody who wants to come and join Community Influencer. I might be saying, what's going on in your life? And then I will give them some directions. I think you need to do these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. And then I will often say, would you like a hand with that? And they'll either say yes or no. And it's like, that's about as complicated as it gets there as well, if you've got a solution for people there too. Tell me this, Ange, I'm interested in terms of, if I was a practitioner listening to this at the moment, I'm like, that sounds like a lot of work for me to be able to do. I've got the base level of my Facebook, I've got my free content, and then I've got a group, and then I've got a challenge, and then I've got a 6-week course, and I've got these discovery courses and stuff like that too. Is it a lot of work? So what are your thoughts in around that?
It's a reasonable amount of work. What it is a well-defined marketing plan.
Yeah.
A process that, it is going to get tougher in the market. COVID's not over. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. What have we got, as an industry to be able to make sure that we're there to help people who are stressed, who concerned about their immune system, who are, because of their sedentary, having structural problems.
Yeah.
I think that it's something we need to be thinking about doing. And for myself, I've got 2 VAs that are based in the Philippines. So they do a lot of my social media, just the turnover tasks that has to be done. I create all my own posts, I create all my content, but they just make sure it gets out there. And you've got, if you're doing a challenge and you're creating handouts, you've got things like Fiverr. There's all sorts of places out there that can actually help you to just write it out and send it away with a brief, and it comes back, $50 later, you've got what you want. So it's use the help that's out there. There's resources. There's so much out there that people can utilize. If you're not creative, you've got Canva, or get yourself a VA, somebody to actually help you to do those things.
Yeah. I think they're lovely suggestions. And I find it interesting because I'll have lots of people go, that sounds like a lot of work. And I'm like, well, I was just talking to you beforehand and you're telling me that your biggest concern is that you're not busy. So you're not busy, which means that you've got time to invest into this kind of stuff there too. And the second is, I think depending on where you are in your business maturity, it may well be, let me just be frank, at the beginning of this, yes, it's a lot of work and you're going to need to probably do it all yourself. And starting off with a bunch of VAs and other people, for many of you, it's just not a solution to begin with. And I think that if you're wanting to run a successful business, at the beginning, you either pay with your time and or your money. And when I started my business, I didn't have the money to pay. So it did mean there was a lot of weeks where I wasn't working 9 to 5. There was a lot of weeks where I was putting in a lot of hours there too. And then as we get levels of competence and skill, then we can outsource, and we can start with 1 VA and 2 VAs, and we can start to head all down that path there also. So any other pieces? Say that again, Ange.
I totally agree. This model that I've been working with is the model that I have been building through with my coaching business. And it is the model that I'm also utilizing with my practitioners that I'm coaching. And it's the thing that grows the business the fastest. So if you're not busy, it's a process that accelerates the business.
Yeah.
You can't open your doors.
Yeah. I think about how lovely it would be to have a number of phone calls each and every week where I'm talking with patients who I've already engaged with a number of weeks, and I'm just sitting down, and the whole purpose of this conversation, if it's framed properly, is how can I help you more? That's what it is. There's nothing salesy or pushy about it, because you've done all this great work in kind of qualifying, or the word that you mentioned right at the start there, ascending somebody through this. It is a funnel of delivering really good, high quality kind of peeps. And you know what? It's never been easier. I mean, up until the Facebook group is free, social media platforms is free. The content creation machine that you need for this is called your phone. You can shoot the videos, create the content. Canva, you mentioned as well, is free. So it's a very cheap thing to run that might take a little bit of your time to begin with also. So I love it, Ange. I think this is a kind of an exciting model to kind of, that is a real blend between somebody having some digital and online offerings, and yet not neglecting the brick and mortar business that, certainly for chiropractors. I mean, we have lots of naturopaths that listen to this as well, but as a chiropractor, the adjustment is still one thing that I can't deliver via Zoom. I can teach mobility and anti-inflammatory diets and stress management and breathing and all those kind of things there too. But, there's still a huge place for hands-on kind of offering also there too. So what are some of the experience, Ange, some of your clients that are starting to implement this as well? What are some of the experiences that they're having, and what are you seeing? What are the hurdles? What are their results?
Yeah, sure. I think the initial hurdle is, particularly in the practitioner realm that I work in, is the aspect. It's like, oh my God, how do I do a Facebook group? How do I get engagement?
Yeah.
So, things you have to work at. So the hurdles are around, you have to show up.
Yeah.
You have to have the mindset to start with. You have to have that mindset. Yeah, I'm consistent. I show up. I make sure that I'm there whether I want to be or not.
Yeah.
Because 1 week off social media is suicide. So
yeah.
You really need to make sure you're consistent, that you're planning, and that you've got, if you are going away, that's fine. You just pre-plan your stuff. And I love how you talk about, you film your videos. You do your once a month videos on choose a day, and you get them all batched and done. I think that's a great way to go. And then it's okay, create the challenge. How do you do the challenge? Well, you just do the challenge you can do it Facebook Live. You set up a little special Facebook group for those people in the challenge. And you just do a Facebook Live for 1 hour a day onto there. It's not a difficult thing to do.
Yes.
And it's just, I think having techniques, and there's a lot of mental resilience. When I first started, starting from scratch with my coaching, I was doing 80-hour weeks.
Yes.
So, no weekends off, but I was loving it. I was, the passion was, I was so excited about it. But, that was only sustainable for 3 months. And after that, I had to have a little bit of a rest. However, the thing is that, there are hurdles. I'm not going to beat around the bush about that. But the biggest hurdle for most people is themselves.
Yeah.
You just got to get out of your own way.
Yeah. I think you're right. I know you're right with regards to that too. There are phases at the beginning where it does take an incredible amount of work. And I think this podcast, and you and I have talked about it beforehand, to have some integrity in around that. I think it's interesting that as health practitioners, one of our frustrations is patients coming to us saying, I want to be well tomorrow. I've had this problem, my back problem, my health problem, my immune system issues built up over the last 20 years. But for somehow I think that you can get it well next week. And we complain about that all the time because it is frustrating. And yet we think the health of our business is something that can be managed and solved tomorrow or next week. It's also, I think we're out of integrity with regards to, to both those kind of things there too. And if somebody wants to kind of find out a little bit more about how they can kind of implement this kind of process, maybe become a part of one of your challenges, where do they find you? How can they start to engage with you in this process also?
Yeah, sure. So if the first step that would be easy is just jump on to become my friend on Facebook.
Yeah.
Angela Carroll on Facebook, and then I would then invite you into my group, or you can just DM me through there and just ask, can I belong to your group? I would just put you into the group, and then you could actually see how that unravels. You could join in a challenge if you wanted to do that. No obligation, if you just want to be curious as to how it works. And then, from there, we could actually take the next stage, or just reach straight out to me on social media. There's a website as well. So angelacarrollcoaching.com.au.
Great.
Finally, last time we did our podcast, it was not ready, but I did it myself. And I did it. The reason I did it myself was because I knew that I had to learn, and the best way for me to learn was, how hard it was to do a website and all the intricacies that are involved. That's why I made myself do it. So, angelacarrollcoaching.com.au or Angela Carroll on Facebook.
Building a website used to be something that was complicated. It's less complicated now. It's never been easier. We have some mutual friends. I've seen the work that you have been doing, and I've got a couple of people who just rave about their work with you too, Angela. I want to encourage all of our again, I know there's lots of chiropractors that are listening to this as well. This model could work equally as well for you. I think once you get over that initial implementation phase of it, it can be something that can be supported by your staff in-house, your VAs outside of the practice, or a mixture of both of those. And in many cases, rather than focusing on perhaps the new learning and some of the challenges, to think about what it might be like to have a consistent flow of people wanting to work with you, that are raising their hand, that have kind of elevated along that, more know, like, and trust. Ange, in terms of summing things up today, any kind of final thoughts that you'd like to kind of share with our peeps?
Just really, I think, try something different. If what you've got is going for at the moment and you're getting exhausted, if what you're doing at the moment isn't working for you, if you are finding that not getting your business to where you want it to go, then try something different, try something new. Feel free to join in, to my Facebook group if you want to do that. It's called Loving My Natural Healthcare Practice. They can jump into there as well and just say, okay, what posts work? What gets the likes? How are things written? What can you actually do? So have a look at those sorts of things as well. And again, what beliefs are holding you back that could really be serving other people? We go into this industry to help other people and to give. And so, having a model that allows people to come through and learn all the way through, I think is more holistic.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So, Ange, thank you so much for 10 years of being inside the business industry to, all your time as a naturopath, then coaching, natural health practitioners through your work at Metagenics. And I'm excited to see this kind of next evolution for you now, as a full-time coach, helping people through. I'm excited about this Ascension model. I could see how, for the right person, it could work really beautifully. And, clearly we need to come back for round 3 at some stage and see how it continues to work.
Yeah, love to. That sounds perfect. Thanks so much, Angus. That was great.
My pleasure, Ange. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out the Community Influencer Program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work one-on-one with you to apply, implement, systematize, and help guide you and your practice to the next level. Now you can join me on over at adiomedia.com/join. That's adiomedia.com/join. I'd love to see you in there.